Hello and welcome. Today we're going on a journey that happens inside your head every single day. We're going to trace the path a memory takes, from a fleeting moment to a lifelong recollection. And you'll see the story science is telling us now, well, it's a whole lot different and frankly, more amazing than what we thought for decades.
You know the feeling, right? You can perfectly recall the lyrics to a song you haven't heard in 20 years, but you have no idea where you just set down your car keys 5 minutes ago. It feels random, but it's not. What makes one memory stick like glue and another just evaporate? To figure that out, we need to look at how a memory is first born, and then the incredible and surprising journey it takes after that. All right, so let's get into it. For the better part of a century, the story of memory always started in the same place. It all began with a simple, really elegant idea about what happens when two brain cells talk to each other. This right here is the origin story. All the way back in 1949, a psychologist named Donald Hebb came up with this idea. He basically said that if one brain cell helps make another one fire over and over again, the connection between them physically gets stronger, more efficient. It's the concept you've probably heard boiled down to this catchy phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together. And for a long, long time, we thought that was it. That was the memory itself, being carved into the brain. And later, scientists actually found the physical proof of Hebb's idea. They called it long-term potentiation, or LTP for short. You could literally see it and measure it, the connection between two neurons getting stronger. And everyone thought, aha, we found it. This was the holy grail of memory research, the physical memory trace. This was the answer. Case closed. Right? Well, not so fast. Because the more scientists looked at LTP, the more they found things that just didn't quite add up. The story started to get complicated. And it turns out this process might be doing a totally different job than we thought. And this is where the plot twist really kicks in. The old way of thinking was that LTP was like the brain's file cabinet. You have an experience, and zap, the memory gets stored right there in that strengthened connection. But the new theory is completely different. It suggests LTP isn't the file cabinet at all. It's the brain's highlighter pen. It doesn't store the memory. It just flags the experience as important. It's the brain's way of shouting, hey, this thing that just happened, you're going to want to remember this later. So why the change in thinking? Well, the evidence for the old theory just started to fall apart. For one thing, scientists were finding LTP happening all over the brain, even in areas that have nothing to do with memory. Plus, it was a little sloppy, sometimes strengthening connections nearby, not just the specific one. But the biggest problem? LTP often fades away after just a few weeks. How could that possibly explain a memory you've had since you were 5 years old? It just didn't work. So this brings up a huge question. If all the brain is doing during the day, its day job, is just highlighting important experiences, what happens next? How does a highlighted moment turn into a real, permanent memory? And the answer, incredibly, lies in what your brain does when you're not even aware of it. That's right. It seems the real heavy lifting of making memories doesn't even start until you go to bed. While you're fast asleep, your brain is one of the busiest places on the planet, working an absolutely critical night shift. This has led scientists to what we now call the two-phase model of memory. Phase 1 is encoding. This happens while you're awake. Your brain is like a camera, rapidly snapping pictures of your experiences and holding them in a short-term storage area called the hippocampus. But that's just a temporary file. For it to last, you need phase 2, consolidation. And this happens almost exclusively while you sleep. Your brain replays the important events, sorts through them, and ships them off to the neocortex for safe, long-term storage. If you skip this step, the memory just vanishes. And it makes perfect sense, right? Why is sleep the perfect time for this? Well, for starters, the outside world is shut off. There are no new emails, no new conversations. Your brain can finally focus. The lines of communication between that short-term holding area and the long-term hard drive open up. And, just as importantly, your brain uses this quiet time to do some gardening. It prunes away all the weak, unimportant connections, making sure only the good stuff gets saved. But believe it or not, this is only half the story. Because, well, one part of your brain is acting like a meticulous librarian, carefully filing away your memories. Another part is acting like a janitor, running a deep cleaning service. And this job is just as vital for keeping your memories safe. Everybody, meet the glymphatic system. This is a relatively recent and totally mind-blowing discovery. It's the brain's own personal waste disposal system. Think of it like a city's plumbing. All day long, while you're thinking and feeling and living, your brain cells are producing metabolic waste, basically brain trash. The glymphatic system's job is to use cerebral fluid to flush all of that harmful gunk out every single night. So when does this cleanup crew work best? Well, take a look at this. When you're awake, it's barely doing anything. It's just a trickle. But as you fall asleep, and especially when you hit that deep, slow wave sleep, the system kicks into high gear. The channels in your brain actually expand to let more fluid flow through. It's a true deep clean.
So what kind of trash is it taking out? Some really nasty stuff. Specifically, it targets toxic proteins like beta amyloid and tau. And if those names ring a bell, it's because the buildup of these exact proteins is directly linked to devastating conditions like Alzheimer's disease. So this nightly cleaning isn't just tidy, it's one of our brain's most powerful protective measures. So how important is this really? How quickly do things go wrong if you skip it? Get ready for this. It takes just one single night of bad sleep is enough to cause a measurable spike in the amount of beta amyloid in your brain. That's it, one night. That's how essential this process is. So let's put this all together. Let's create the new, revised, and much more accurate story of how a passing moment becomes a permanent part of who you are. Here it is, the complete journey. Step 1, you have an experience. Step 2, your brain uses a tool like LTP not to store it, but to put a big, glowing, important sticker on it. Step 3, later, during deep sleep, your brain takes that highlighted file and moves it to long-term storage. That's consolidation. And step 4, happening at the exact same time, the brain's cleanup crew is power washing the entire system, protecting not just the new memory, but all of your old ones too. So what this really tells us is that making a memory isn't a single event. It's not a snapshot. It's a process, a partnership between your awake brain and your sleeping brain. You need to pay attention during the day to highlight what matters. And then you absolutely have to get that sleep to let your brain do the two critical jobs of filing and cleaning. You know, the old idea of sleep as just downtime or a waste of time is completely fundamentally wrong. It's one of the most active and most important things you can possibly do for your brain. You're not just resting, you are actively building your past and protecting your future. So, knowing all this, it really leaves just one question. What are you going to do to protect your memories tonight?